Hey, devotioners, how are you? Hope that you're doing wonderful. I am doing good. I am doing good amidst everything that is going on. You know, I told you recently there's certain situations that you ask God, do I retreat or do I move forward? And so we're pressing forward with the cognizance that things are changing or things have changed, but we trust in God to keep moving forward because He is the source of our strength and He's the lifter up of our heads. And so if He says to go forward, it just means that everything is going to be all right. And so we trust that. And again, just hope that you are doing well. I know that I said it very often that, you know, the things around us are changing. The climate in certain sectors are changing. It's not what it used to be. But God is still God. He remains God. He remains unchangeable, unmovable. And so that gives us hope. We trust in a God that doesn't change and cannot change. He's immutable. And we're so thankful for that. And that gives me hope. And I hope that leaves you with hope as well, that God is faithful and He's true to His word. And so I just hope that you are extremely well. I want to pick up from yesterday, and I want to talk to you about in the midst of it all. And I touched on recently that when you are on the cusp of receiving a breakthrough, that the enemy of our souls is going to try everything that he possibly can to bombard you, to build up walls, to prevent you from receiving your breakthrough. And when you have received your breakthrough, if you're experiencing breakthrough, you've managed to push through against all odds, that there are going to be circumstances that arise that will want you to surrender what God has done for you, because life at times gets so overwhelming that we would say, back in Jamaica, you don't know your head from your foot. And they say when trouble take your pitney shot fit you. It's like you start to go through so much, even in the midst of breakthrough, and that you would want to surrender that breakthrough over to the enemy because things become so overwhelming. And I encouraged you yesterday, don't put your breakthrough on a platter and hand it over to the enemy. No, tell him you're not going to steal my breakthrough. It doesn't matter what hell you is breaking loose. I am not going to give up my breakthrough. No, I'm not going to give up my birthright. I am not for a lentil of soup, not for satisfaction, not just to go sit in a corner and cower and cry. No, I'm not. I am going to rely on the strength of God and the word of God, and I'm going to do what I know to do until God makes a move. And so when you are resilient like that, you know, the enemy doesn't mean that he stops, but at some point he has to say, this one really, really trusts her God. This one really, really trusts his God. Similarly to Job, when the enemy saw that Job wasn't budging. Oh God, that hit me. When the enemy saw that Job wasn't budging, he had to go back to God and say, God, he's not cursing you because, and he went back again. And even when boils covered his body, he said, listen, naked I came in and naked I'm going to go out. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Oh God, in the midst of it all, don't hand over your breakthrough to the enemy. I feel like it's a test of our faith. I feel like God is saying, go try that one over there. Go try him. Go try her. I feel in this season that what many of us are experiencing is a test of our faith, to test our stability, to test to test what we're built upon. If we're just saying things, because sometimes when things are going well, we can say some things, make you get goosebumps on top of your goosebumps. But when the rubber hits the road, can you still declare? Can you still make those declarations? I believe this season, as I woke up today, I feel this in my heart. This is a test to see how we're going to stand. Yes, God is real. I'm here to tell you that God is real. He is real, and he is with us. He's with me. We have a unique relationship. He's with me in the midst of it all. And so let me get to the cusp of this today. Let me get to the meat of this today. In the midst of it all, we were in Mark 4, and we saw that it was Jesus who initiated this trip. It was Jesus's idea to go to the other side. It was Jesus's itinerary to travel. All right. He told them, let's go into the ship. We're going to the other side. And we talked about that, in Mark 5, that we met the man who of the Gadarenes who was bound and living in the graveyard and cutting himself and just going wild because he was suffering from satanic oppression, and so we see that. We talked about that yesterday. But what do you do when it's God's idea for you to go through the storm? What do you do when you're doing God's will and still encounter storms and violent winds? What do you do? Because you and I am thinking, if God summons me to do something, and if God is saying, do this and do that, and God is ordering my steps, and he's leading me, and he's guiding me, if I'm in God's will, I want to believe that I am not going to go through, or shouldn't go through, tough times. I'm just being real with you. God says, go. God says, I'm just not expecting to go through as much of a hard time. So the disciples here are now in the middle of the ocean, in the middle. And it was Jesus' idea. And not that it was his idea only, the wind started blowing, the waters was coming in to the ship. They got scared. They started to get frantic. They started to worry. And the person's idea to go over in the first place is sleeping on the ship in the middle of the storm. You would think that he would have been awake and that he would have said, oh my goodness, Lord have mercy. Man, I told them to come with me on this trip, and then my things are not going according to plan. My goodness, what did I get them into? You would think, right? That's what you would think as somebody who's hosting an event. Somebody's going on an excursion, and you're bringing somebody with you, or you're bringing a party with you, and then all of a sudden, the rain starts falling, and then you're like, oh my God, look. Oh my goodness, I should have planned this better, or, you know what I'm talking about, right? But no, not Jesus. Jesus was chilling in the boat and sleeping. I want to say to you in all seriousness that being a believer, being a Christian, being a follower of Christ does not exempt us from the storm. It does not remove us from the storm. It does not protect us from hardship. It doesn't. If anything, and I'm learning this more and more, if anything, we are going to be tested. I mean, the Bible tells us so, but we have to be tried, and we have to be proven. Because how else are we going to get our reward if we're not tried, if we're not proven? If the seal is not upon us, how else will we get our reward? And we have to learn that doing God's will does not exempt us from going through trials. What it says to us is that when we go through those trials, is that we rely on the strength of God, the instruction of God, the plan of God. We lean in a little bit closer to hear what God has to say. And truthfully, in this situation, we are finding that sometimes in the midst of the storm, it would seem as though God is silent and that God is nowhere to be found. But we know today that that is not true. That he is close. He is right there. And though, yes, the water is coming in, and though, yes, you're hearing bad news, and yes, and there's a new diagnosis, and yes, you name it. Yes. You check it off. Yes. And even though we're surrounded bad news after bad news, that the Lord is not going to allow it to take us over. I don't know how, and only eternity will tell. I feel it. Only eternity will tell how God keeps us from the brink. How he keeps us from falling during some of the roughest periods in our lives. only He can grant us peace in the midst of the storm. I don't know how He does it. I don't know how He keeps the mind from going crazy. I don't know how I don't know how He intervenes. I don't know how He does it, but I am so glad. I am so glad that He intervenes right in the nick of time. Because some of you might be living on the edge of your mind. You're like, oh my goodness, I just want to just... But God has a way of releasing peace right in the midst of the storm. That even though you feel the rage, you say to yourself, I can do this. I can make it. I can overcome. God is so good. God is so, so good. The peace that passes all understanding. And so even though they were worried and they were overcome by what was happening, Jesus arose and said, listen, peace, be still. And so we learn in the midst of it all that He is in control of everything. He is, let me give you some assurance today as I assure myself that He is in control of everything. He is, say to yourself, Jesus is in control of everything. And Jesus wants us to turn to Him in the storm. And Jesus wants to demonstrate to us that the storm will come, but the storm has lessons attached to them, because the storm will deepen your faith in God. I don't know. I don't know. It's the mystery of godliness that the storms can teach you the deep things of God. The storm can deepen your faith. The storm can release your faith. The storm can draw you closer to God. Unlike any other situation, the storm. So the disciples were able to say, what manner of man is this? Because the storm teaches us so much about God that we don't get again in other affairs. The God is just so good that He uses, and I'm learning so much right now. I am learning. I can't stop writing. I'm learning so much about God in this season like never before. I'm learning so much. So when I should feel weak and down and low, my faith is being strengthened. My faith is being renewed. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Even though there is a reality of what is going on, but on the inside, we don't diminish the reality of what is going on. That's not what God is doing. God is saying, yeah, what is happening is real. But I'm also deepening your connection. I'm deepening your faith. I'm deepening your conviction. I'm revealing things about me to you in this situation. Be vigilant. Be observant. Write down what I'm teaching you. It's powerful. So even though you're in the midst of it all, God is showing you. And God is teaching you. And I advise you today to write down what God is imparting to you. Write down, because you will get to share it one day with somebody else. Or it will help you when you go through the next storm, because he's the same God then, and he'll be the same God now. You'll be the same God now, same God then. That's the kind of God that we serve. I love him so much. I love him. I love him so much. And one of the things that he's highlighting for me, and I want to share this with you as we wrap this up, that peace is our inheritance. Peace is our inheritance. And sometimes we look and we want God to bless us materially. But I'm telling you, peace, being able to go to sleep in the midst of a storm, you can't buy that. That's unmatched. To be able to rest on the promises of God in the midst of a storm, when you're hearing this and that and that and the other, can't buy that. Peace is an inheritance. There's nothing like it. Peace. Can't buy peace. Only God can endow that to you. So be strong today. Be encouraged today. Your breakthrough is coming. Don't buy into the lies of the wicked one. Don't. Jesus is not asleep in our storms. He's controlling how much damage the storm does. Don't you worry. The boat is not gonna capsize. And I mean your life. You're not going under. You're not. You're not gonna go under. I know you might be frantic a little right now. That's natural to feel that way. But God is going to fuel you with peace that will cause you to look at your storm and say, rage on. Rage on. Because I know who's the captain of the ship. I know who's the captain. I know the sailor. Popeye the sailor man. I know who's in charge of this ship. I know him. And so I'm not gonna be worried, and I'm not gonna be dismayed. You gotta talk to yourself. I'm gonna trust in the word of God. I'm gonna rehearse it. I'm gonna speak it out into the atmosphere. I'm gonna speak it over my situation. I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna get others to pray. But I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna hold on. I am going to hold on. I'm not giving up. It ain't over until God says that it's over. It ain't over until he says it is over. And as long as he didn't make no pronunciation, as long as he didn't pronounce anything dead, then it's alive. It's alive. And even when it's dead, he can bring it back to life again. That's the God that I serve. That's the God that you serve. In the midst of it all, his peace, his peace, his peace. May God bless you. May God keep you. May God cause his great face to shine upon you. May the Lord be gracious unto you. May the Lord grant you his peace, the peace that passes all understanding. God bless you in Jesus' name.